Blessings everyone, this is Black Dove back again with another video. So happy Friday the 13th. I wanted to record this video earlier and post it, but I was busy, the girl was busy, your girl was busy and had things to do. So here I am now, here to talk about shadow work, but starting shadow work on Friday the 13th. If you're ever considered shadow work, and doing shadow work on this day, because while most people believe that Friday the 13th is a negative connotation and very superstitious in that negative aspect, I've never believed it to be a negative connotation. I've never had a bad Friday the 13th. I've always had good ones. I've always felt good on those days energetically. And I've always encountered wonderful people. I've never had a negative experience on Friday the 13th. So for me, I've never associated with a negative connotation like black cats crossing your path, because I grew up with a black cat, and I currently have a black cat, and I've currently been seeing a black cat when I'm out in the world that's not there. So I'm not really worried about anything negative happening. It hasn't happened thus far, and it is now 5:03 p.m. where I'm at, and I don't believe it's going to continue to happen. But I digress. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you have already subscribed to my channel, welcome back. Hit the like button on this video. Share it with someone who's interested in doing shadow work, and or who has a negative idea of Friday the 13th, even though I'm not really going to get into that aspect of it. But maybe after they watch this, they wouldn't be so having negative thinking in regards to Friday the 13th when I explain the power in using Friday the 13th to start shadow work. And walk you through the shadow work process. My nose ring is hanging out my nose. It makes it look like I got a booger. Let's see. Yeah, there it goes. Sorry. So I think why it's so powerful. Well, most people have this fear about Friday the 13th. So shadow work is really about addressing self-fear, right? So it's a great way to transmute energy, shadow work. And doing it on Friday the 13th, taking a day that is seen as an often negative connotation. I don't know how that just spun. Literally just twisted. Taking it and seeing it as a negative connotation that most people see as a negative connotation, taking it and transmuting that energy to benefit you, is one of the most powerful things that a person could do for themselves. So, many believe that it's negative, but when it comes to shadow work, Friday the 13th energy magnifies your shadow work. It magnifies the work and the energy you put into transmuting your fears, things that you repress, things that you ignore, things that you hide, into a positive, right? So it's the number 13 is about transformation, right? And shadow work is about transformation. I've also done shadow work, not necessarily on the 13th, but I've used a specific deity, a goddess, that is also known to be associated with transformation. So for me, after I've done some other things in the next couple of hours, after I'm done with this video and I've posted it, after I'm done with doing some other work, I'm going to take time to make my candle for my shadow work ritual. That includes Kali Ma, because she's the deity that I use for shadow work. I've also implemented other things into my shadow work, but I'm focusing on just shadow work with Kali Ma. I also used her for my dark feminine energy ritual and work, but she wasn't my first choice, right? I'll get into that. But before I do, let me just clear up for anybody who has a misconception or doesn't understand what shadow work entails. It entails challenging your fears, right? And the reason why I say Friday the 13th is great for day of starting shadow work, because Friday the 13th, most people have a fear behind it, a negative superstition, right? Behind it. And the number 13th is about transformation, like I said before. And shadow work is about transformation, right? Shadow work is just, it's a process, but if you're doing it over a consistent form of time, it becomes a ritual. So if you implement candles, deities, meditation, it's all going to be a ritual, because everything we do is a ritual, yet they want you to believe that it's not, right? Invoking a deity, that's part of a ritual. You can invoke a deity to use shadow work. So I would suggest keeping a journal, of thoughts, of emotions. One big thing about shadow works is about really bringing hidden aspects, I can't even talk right now, aspects of your consciousness, right? To better understand yourself. So journaling, if you're having dreams, write down your dreams so you can analyze them. If you are somebody who needs professional help, I advise you during your shadow work to maybe seek professional help, or counseling. Meditation is a big part of it, because it's going to help you. Meditation and deep breathing and being more aware of yourself, self-awareness. It's going to bring self-awareness to you. So addressing the root of even your emotions, the things that you are suppressing, the behaviors that you are hiding, the judging of yourself, right? All these negative aspects, the fear of maybe accomplishing something, doing something, the fear of starting something, the fear of not completing something, whatever fears you have, shadow work helps you acknowledge, accept, and evolve past those hidden aspects of your consciousness, the fears, the darkness. It also wants you to address the root of them. So things like you've heard me probably mention before, if you watch previous videos about like childhood trauma, past life trauma. It helps. It can also lead to rituals and techniques to help you address those things, right? Like I said, if you're not capable of addressing these things on your own and you need professional help, then by all means do that, right? A high priestess, a spiritual guide can help you. If you need a therapist, then and a therapist utilize this spirituality in their, like, if they're just going to dope you up on drugs and tell you, oh, you're crazy, you need drugs, then just walk away from that therapist, right? Unless you need those drugs. Then that's on you to decide. But you probably want more of a holistic therapist, counselor, advisor, high priestess, someone who's capable of helping you, guide you through understanding, and someone that you can lean on when you need to just dump emotions, thoughts, energy, right? They're going to help you transmute. They can help transmute, because it's all about transformation and transmutation. The number 13th is shadow work is, and also Kali Ma. So I personally suggest you look into Kali Mom, but I used her because that's who came to me. Most people, I know that most people might say this same deity, if you're a female, the same deity they use to connect to dark feminine energy, they probably use that deity for shadow work, because often deities that are associated with shadow work are often also associated with dark feminine energy if you're a female. Like Hecate, Medusa, Lilith, but you can also use Venus if you're doing a more self-love type of shadow work, right? Venus is good for that. There are some other ones. You would have to go and look and do your research. And I say do your research and find out, research on each deity, because you want to know which one resonates with you. No, pretty much. How do I say this without sounding so condescending? Or arrogant, or pompous, or a bit of an asshole, or a bitch. You want to work with a deity that resonates with you, because if you don't vibe with it, with the deity, if there's no energy being exchanged, you don't feel connected to the deity, right? There's no connection, you're not going to want to do the work. Let's just be real. You're not going to want to do the work. So do your due diligence and research. For me, it was Kali Mom, but like I said in my other video when I was talking about black cat energy, dark feminine energy, I had been seeing her face while I was awake. I started sticking my tongue out like she did, like she's depicted in many of her pictures and statues. And then I was speaking to her and seeing her when I was asleep in visions. So I had originally wanted to use Medusa, but over a course of time, couldn't find a connection, couldn't connect to her and vibrate with her. So I took a step back, and then after I took a step back from the situation and I started giving my energy to other things and working on other things, and there goes my nose ring again. I literally, that shit is annoying me. It may not be annoying y'all, but that shit is annoying me. Excuse me. Started to see her. She reached out to me, spoke to me. Now, I'm not saying the other goddesses and deities aren't great, but I found that she works for me. She's who I needed to connect to find progress, to achieve progress, to find a connection, to want to transform into a better, higher version of myself, right? If you are interested in working with Kali Ma, I have a formula for a candle and a meditation oil for her. I'm going to share my formula, as I always do in my videos. When I have formula, candle formula, meditation oil formula, ritual formula, oil formula that I use, I always share it. I know probably somebody's like, girl, why do you do that? Not everybody's going to use it, and not everybody's going to make a candle, and not everybody's going to make an oil. But if you choose to do Medusa or any deity, research what herbs that resonate with them. Know why they're used. Know how you can use them, right? You owe it to yourself to understand why this herb is used in a ritual or offering, because your oil can be used as an offering as well. It doesn't have to be used just as a in your ritual. You can also create the oil as a offering to the deity. Very point blank. It's true. But I used Medusa because she's great with shadow work and she represents transformation. my formula, right? Because I'm going to make this, it's not going to be that long. I went through, and remind me, did I go through what you should be working on in transformation, during transformation, shadow work, transformation work, meditating, you should be doing deep breathing during your meditation. It grounds you, and it brings more self-awareness. And why I say more self-awareness, because we are human beings, we are animals, we are self-aware animals. This is what we are. We are animals that are self-aware, but only to a certain degree, because we do things that we sometimes don't want to address. We do things that we ignore, and deep breathing helps ground you and make you more self-aware of what you're feeling, self-aware of what your thoughts are, and what's going on in your body too as well. Like if you're hurting, in areas that you're hurting. So if you're doing deep breathing and you notice pains in certain areas, or certain areas have tingling sensation, then I would suggest writing them down, because then there's other work that maybe you could do to improve what you're feeling within your energy, your energy centers, right? And help improve your aura, your frequency, your energy fields altogether, right? And how you vibrate, which is a whole nother subject. But all these things play a part together ultimately. And somebody might say to you, that's not true. It is absolutely true. I help people do work. I guide people. I get visions on people, and I'll explain to them. People will get visions, have dreams, and then I'll explain their dreams. But I also help people heal themselves, right? Improve their frequency, because the truth of the matter is, while we are all individuals, we make a collective of energy. We are all energies that make individual energies that make up a collective energy. I take energy for myself, give it to someone else. I pick up somebody else's energy. Energy does not disappear. It just goes from one space to another space. So we are all intermixing. So I would be doing a disservice as a high priestess and someone who spirits come to, who deities come to, who ancestors speak to, not just my ancestors, other people's ancestors, and then not help them find their path, right? And work through the things that are keeping them from being on their path, and then also helping them stay on their path. Otherwise, then what are you as a high priestess? Someone pretending to be? That's crazy as fuck. It's actually bananas. For you to say, oh, I have a high priestess and she gives me work, or she's helping me work, and she's not doing shit but doing this. Money, 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 money. Which money is great. We need it to live and survive, right? But the things that I've had done for me without even having to do anything, or going out and doing a job to get paid for, and they taking care of it all. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I've seen many things, experienced many things, and each time, while I'm never surprised by it, because I understand what I see and what I can't see, right? But I'm always grateful. This gratitude and this appreciation I have for it, no one's ever gonna make me stop. Like, I stand firm on it, because I've seen way too much, been through way too much, and know what the truth is, and what sugar-coated shit that's been serving up. But I digress. Back to what I was saying. What you say? My formula, and I'm going to share my formula and explain how I make my candle, right? Explain how I make the oil. But I would advise that if you're going to choose Medusa or Hecate or Lilith, then do the research behind what is associated with them. If you're going to use Kalima, then you are at liberty to use my formula. Otherwise, why am I sharing it with you? Use my formula. I'm not mad. I've shared it with you for a reason. No one has my frequency. Nobody has my gifts and abilities. So do I feel threatened by sharing my formula with somebody? No, that's absurd. Am I losing out on money? Not necessarily. Because what's for me will be for me regardless of what I'm giving. Right? Yeah, what's up? You are asleep and you're still talking to me? I'm making a video, son. How about you put a limit on it? Find a healthy medium, a healthy in-between. But before you do that, don't you think you need to get rid of all those water bottles over there that you got? Okay, so then there is a refrigerator in the kitchen. You can put those water bottles in the refrigerator. If they have water in them, they're unopened. They don't need to stay there. But make sure what's empty goes in the trash. And then do me a favor and turn the light out behind me and the light out in the kitchen. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. Where was I at? Oh, my formula. So I use this formula for my candle and my oil. And it is, for the candle, it's 10 drops of each essential oil. And the herb is exactly what essential oil I'm using. So my first one is red hibiscus flower. So I use the 10 drops of red hibiscus flower essential oil. And then I have dry red hibiscus flower, right? Red sandalwood, 10 drops of red sandalwood. Then I have dried chips of the red sandal herb, right? Myrrh. I'm looking at, I have literally, my formula's in my room, but I had to write it down really quick. I didn't go through and I didn't bring my binder because I don't really have any doors. I have my class books all over my desk, and I don't have space to put my binder down anywhere. It's my book down where I write my formulas in. Myrrh. So it's 10 drops of myrrh, and then I take myrrh resin, and I kind of like the dry myrrh resin. I kind of like grind it up in my mortar and pestle with my mortar and pestle. Black turmeric, 10 drops of black turmeric root oil, essential oil, and then what I actually have is black turmeric root powder. So I add that into my herb mix, right? And then the last one is mimosa. And before anybody starts saying, oh, she puts the drink mimosa in it, no, there's actually a flower called the mimosa. I get the essential herb, the mimosa essential herb. It's 10 drops of that, and and the dry mimosa flower, right? And I put it into the mix. I blend it all up. Now, my candle size that I make is this size candle. So 10 drops of each essential oil goes into a candle this size. If you're using a larger candle, you're going to increase the drops of essential oil you mix into your melted wax. Now, I don't have any wax in here. This is y'all can see I make lots of candles. You see how black it is at the bottom, how brown it is at the bottom. I won't say black because it's not really black, but it's brown. It's not the only one I have. I have several other ones. But I use soy wax melts. I don't use beeswax. I have found that soy wax blends better. It melts better. It blends better. And it settles better as a candle for me, personally. I'm not really a beeswax type of when it comes to candles. I'm not fond of it. I have it. I make them personally for myself that way, but if I'm making them for someone else, I'm using soy wax melts. But if you're somebody into beeswax, this is how beeswax looks, right? And I also noticed that sometimes they end up settling. When they settle with a hole with beeswax. So I use, let me see, soy wax. This is soy wax. I don't know if you can see it. Soy wax. So I melt my candle, my soy wax melts to about 200 degrees, right? And then about 190. Somebody will probably tell you about 185. But because I'm mixing 4 different essential oils in, I start about at 190, and I start with my first essential oil and I mix it in, because it has to be, I don't want it to go below 180, really, when I'm mixing in my essential oils. And I'll put 10 drops in, and I'll beat it for about a minute. Then I'll put the other 10 drops in of another essential oil, and I'll mix it for about another minute. And then I put another 10 drops in. I don't mix them all in at one time, so I don't just drop all my 10 of each essential oil in, so it's 4. I don't make 40 drops at once and then beat it. I blend in each essential oil separately. I also do a thing before I heat up my glass. I'll take you can take a blow dryer, heat up the glass. Sometimes I do the lazy rat out, and I'll set it on my heating plate for a few minutes, and then I take it off and I'll pour it after I blended it, and it's gotten down to like 160. I let it cool down to 160, 165. Then I'll pour it in my glass. I'm telling y'all exactly what I do. I'm not gonna lie. It's exactly how I make my candles. For those of who have used my candles, I would greatly appreciate it if you would put in the comments the testimony to the energy of my candles, the progress you have seen on work you've used within yourself when you use my candles. Because me personally making them, I charge them with a lot of energy. I'm giving a lot of energy into it. I'm putting a lot of love, a lot of thought, intentions into it to help you achieve your goals, to being more aligned with your higher self, the universe, the spirits, and the angels, and your ancestors. But also because I have the ability to open doors and call spirits and call up spirits. So I don't toot my own horn. I know anyone who has either received a candle from me or purchased a candle from me has honestly had results, and knows what goes on and what they've achieved through their process, using things that I've guided them to do along with my candle. But if you're someone who is into honing your energy, want to cultivate your energy, you're more than welcome to use my formula. I actually gave you 5. This is so weird because most of my candles have 4 essential oils in it. This one actually has 5. But I made this. This was one of my first formulas that I made. I actually like this formula. I don't pick my formulas, my essential oils and herbs randomly. So I first understand what purpose they serve in a ritual with the particular goddess or deity that I'm doing it with, or spirit that I'm using. And then what I do is, after I've picked those oils, right, the ones that that resonate with me energetically as I'm doing my research and understanding what purpose they serve, I then take them I pull them and I smell them, right? Smell them individually to see how they, and I've said this before in my other videos, I smell them individually to see how they resonate with me, and then I will smell them together to see how they resonate with me, right? And most of the time I haven't gotten it wrong. I have never had to repeat the process, because I trust spirit. I'm not guided on my own understanding, but on a universal inner, higher understanding of energy, because everything is energy, and I read energy very well. I understand energy very well. The way a person talks, there's energy in their voice, right? And those are the way a person, the subtle hints, that things that the eye doesn't pick up instantly, those are the things that I understand very well. I also get bits and pieces of a person's life, whether it's a past life or things like from the sound of a person's voice, and then I'll start to hear, and I can feel what energy I'm feeling from them, right? And also I get bits and pictures of pictures. Sometimes to not my own desire. Sometimes there's some things that I'm like, I don't even want to talk about. I don't even want to, do I even have to address that? And then there's sometimes people will ask me specific thing and I have to address it, right? But moving on from how I make my candle to my essential oil. Like I said, my candle, the size that I use 10 drops. If you're using a larger size candle, you're going to need to increase your size of amount of essential oils you use. So ultimately, 50 drops total of essential oils go in here. 10 of each one, and there's 5 that I have here. And then a mixture of the herbs. As it starts to solidify, I put them on the top. Now, in some of my candle formulas, I do include crystals, but the for this particular candle formula, I didn't include crystals, because I usually just wear one of my crystals that I wear around my neck, which is like my peacock crystal, which is probably my favorite crystal and definitely helps transmute energy. I wear that around my neck quite often. It's a very powerful crystal. The very first time I got it, and I cleansed it, and I charged it, and I set intentions on it, and I laid it down on my dresser, that bitch started to rumble to the point where my man was laying in the bed, and I knew he heard it. And I got up, and I went into the bathroom, and when I came out, he had picked up the crystal. He took it. He took it, and then, because he's a hooligan, y'all, he's a priest. Yeah, go figure. It's very entertaining in this house between me, my man, and my son. There's always a party going on. There's always some spirits present, some angels present. My life is not for the average human being who's of weak heart and mind. Seriously. He had took the crystal. So it happens to be my favorite crystal. Whenever I'm wearing it and I'm out around people, someone's always like, oh my goodness, that crystal, what is that? So I always end up telling them, oh, it's a peacock crystal. It helps treat, it really does. If you're at a higher frequency, for someone at a higher frequency, I would suggest a peacock ore. It's called a peacock ore, but I would suggest it. It's very colorful. It's very beautiful. So that's the reason why I don't put crystals use crystals in this formula. Now, for an oil mixture, I usually use a shot glass that's probably like this big, right? This big. Now, there are bigger shot glasses, so if you're going to use a bigger jar, then you're going to need to give more drops of essential oil. But for me, I use a size, if I'm using a shot glass this big, sometimes I'll take an olive oil container that I'll buy, and I'll empty out half of the olive oil into another container, and then take the other half of that's in the container and use that. But then again, I'm going to increase my essential oils drops that I'm putting in that, right? and also increase the size of the amount of herbs that I'm putting into the bottle too. So before a shot glass, 10 drops of each, so it would be 50 drops total, and then a very small amount of herbs, of the mixture of herbs. And I was sitting in there, I would mix in the essential oils one by one. I usually use a very tiny spatula that is meant for mixing. So I have this one that I use for the candles, and then there's one that's really skinny. I have a really skinny one that the tip is really narrow that I use for my shot glass. And I just take it and I mix them and I beat them in my one, right? And then I mix in my essential oils, and then I will do my normal blessing, asking for charging. First I charge, and I bless. And you could probably do that all at once. So I'll charge and bless. So I'll set the intentions, I'm charging with my energy as I'm doing it. I'm setting intentions, and then I'm blessing, calling on my whole spiritual team to bless and seal. And then I take it, for me, I take it and I will sit it on one of my altars. I have several altars. So I have one particular altar that I sit all my oils and candles on. As I just wanted to sit in my energy space, sit with my spiritual team, sit with the universe and all those that guide, protect me, watch over me, and clear a space for me. And then I either bottle it up, right? I bottle it up. Do I have? And you don't need much essential oil, or I leave it in the bottle that I made it in, if it's a big bottle, and then label it and put it off with the rest of my essential oils that my oils that I make, ritual oils or meditation oils that I make. Like I said, the oil can be used as an offering. So if you're doing a ritual or shadow work ritual or shadow work meditation, and you want to invoke Kali Ma, you make a candle, or you can buy a red candle because red is associated with her. You can anoint it with the essential herbs and the essential oils and the herbs that I listed. Or if you're using another goddess or deity that you outside of Kali Ma, and you've done your research and you don't want to make a candle and go through the energy of making a candle, you take a candle that in a color that's associated with them if you want to, or a regular white candle, and anoint it with the essential oils and the herbs, right? And can also find things that they like foods or sweets or desserts or drinks that particular deity, that particular goddess likes, and offer that as an offering if you're doing an offering to them. But nonetheless, to close out, to sum it all up, doing shadow work and starting it today on Friday the 13th, because 13 is the number of transformation, and most people associate Friday the 13th with a lot of power and negativity, and transformation and shadow work is about transmuting negative energy. And I think that if you take this day, which is a very powerful day, and I've never had a bad Friday the 13th, I've never been in the energy space of fear and negative thoughts and superstition. But for someone who has a negative connotation with it and also wants to do shadow work, I think transmuting the power, taking that fear of the day, that energy, that power, because for some people it's a very powerful day, taking that power of the day, the fear of that day, doing the shadow work, which is ultimately addressing your consciousness, the fears within the ones that you're suppressing, the judgment that you created on all these negative, these fearful things, and transmuting it with the power of the number 13, because the universe does communicate in symbols and numbers in numerology have meaning, and the number 13 means transformation, and shadow work is about transformation. And for me, using Kali Ma, because she was also about transformation, gives it more power. So for me tonight, after I'm done doing everything else I'm doing, and I've taken my shower and cleaned off the energy of the day that I picked up, I'm going to sit down and write down some things in my journal and do my shadow work. Do some more shadow work with Kali Ma and my formula on Friday the 13th. So until next time, Godspeed to you. Be kind to yourself and each other. Love you guys. Bye.